in a high-end boutique. Some influencer guy and I are checking out the same watch. I'm about to back off when the salesperson snaps at me, "Hey, hands off, Mister Parr saw it first. Who do you think you're trying to compete with him? He's one of our VIP customers." I freeze. Alan Parr is staring at me like I'm dirt on his shoe, arms crossed. "You really think some nobody like you deserves that watch? Do you even know how much the accessories alone cost?" "No way you can afford it." He grabs a card, signs the receipt, and the name he signs is my wife's. That's the supplementary card I gave her for spending money. When I saw that name, my smile went cold. I saw the watch first. Why should I give it up? Both the salesperson and Alan looked shocked. "Salesperson is name tag," said Liam. Walked up to me with pure disgust on his face. "You. The pocket change you've got couldn't even buy one of our paper bags. You're bothering our VIP. Get out before I call security." I almost laughed at how full of himself he was. Obviously, new here, he had no idea who I was. I've been traveling with my daughter for the past 6 months, so I hadn't stopped by in a while. Before that, whenever a new watch dropped, staff here would text me first thing right then. My daughter Lila came running out of the mall's play area and jumped into my arms. "Daddy." My first instinct was to get her out of there. I didn't want her anywhere near Alan. But Alan just sneered. "A bum with a bum kid. This isn't a place for begging. Get lost." His tone scared Lila, and tears started welling up in her eyes. She hid behind me. I pulled her close and glared at him. "Say that again, I dare you." Alan barely glanced at me. "I called you a broke loser." "So what?" Liam jumped in. "He's not wrong. Mr. Parr spends more here than your whole family could make in 3 lifetimes. Alan waved the card around, grinning. "It's no big deal. My girlfriend said she'd give me the moon if I asked." Then he strolled over to the counter to pay. I smirked and made a quick phone call. Sure enough, when Alan swiped the card, nothing happened. He froze. "Is your machine broken?" I held back a smile. That card was in my name. One call, and I could freeze it just like that. My wife, Jennifer, had actually been using the money I gave her to spoil her boy toy. Let's see how Alan handles this. They tried a different machine. Still nothing. Alan shot Liam an annoyed look, then pulled out his phone to call someone. The call connected fast. Alan put it on speaker and gave me a smug look, clearly showing off. "Jenny, my card got declined. I want to buy a watch." He was whining like a baby, totally different from his tough guy act earlier. Jennifer's voice came through. "That's impossible. It's a black card, no spending limit. Maybe there's a bank issue. Hang on, make a call." Lila recognized her mom's voice. Right away, her eyes went wide. "That's Mom." I squeezed her hand gently and shook my head. "Stay quiet. The show was just getting started." Soon Jennifer called me. The call connected, and Jennifer's voice was ice cold. "What's wrong with the card you gave me? Why isn't it working?" "Fix it in 30 minutes. I won't ask twice." She hung up before I could say anything. Almost immediately, Alan's phone rang. Again, he glanced at me smugly and put on speaker. This time, Jennifer's voice was sweet as honey. "Don't worry, Alan. There was a little issue with the bank, but it's getting sorted out. You should be able to use it in half an hour." Night and day from how she just talked to me. Alan's grin got even wider. He looked at me like I was beneath him. "You hear that my girlfriend gives me whatever I want?" I scoffed. "So she was treating me like her personal ATM. No, even a bank gets interest in some respect." Me, I was supporting her and her side piece now. Jennifer was something else, cold and calculating. I took a deep breath. Pushing down my anger, I'd settle the score with both of them. I brought Lila over to the lounge and sat down, calmly watching Alan. "Let's see what happens in 30 minutes. Liam noticed I hadn't left and came over with a frown. "Why are you still here? Leave already." He looked me up and down like I was trash. "People like you drive away my real customers." I looked up at him calmly. "If he can't buy it in 30 minutes, I can still get it right, just waiting." Liam rolled his eyes dramatically. "Can you even afford it? Look at yourself. You're punching way above your weight." Meanwhile, Alan lounged on the other side of the seating area. Liam's whole attitude changed. He rushed over with a big smile, brought Alan coffee, fancy desserts, and laid out several new watch models for him to browse. "Don't let it bother you, Mr. Parr. These people just come here to cause trouble. Miss Vale loves you. I'm sure she'll get everything sorted out." Alan sipped his coffee like some kind of royalty. "My girlfriend never lets me down." He nodded toward me with a cocky look. "Just watch." Liam chimed in. "Exactly, Mr. Parr. You're in a whole different league. These people can't understand your world. Some folks just can't stand seeing others." When the lounge felt tense. 30 minutes were almost up. Alan got up and casually walked over to swipe his card again. Still nothing. His smug expression cracked. He tried another machine, same result. Liam's face twitched. Alan pulled out his phone and called Jennifer again. No answer. I checked the time. The company usually had meetings right about now. Thanks to my support, Jennifer had worked her way up to an executive position. She was paranoid about people calling her a gold digger. She showed up at the office every day without fail. When he couldn't reach her, Alan started panicking. He kept calling over and over. Finally, he looked up, jaw tight. My girlfriend's probably busy. I'll pass on the watch for now. When she's done with work, she can come by with me. Liam looked annoyed. He'd kissed up to Alan for nothing, but he just forced a smile and nodded. That's when I stepped forward. Since he's not buying it, can I? Liam waved me off like I was a fly. I don't have time for your games. Get lost. Can't you see I'm with a customer? I smiled coolly and placed my membership card on the table. The exclusive one for customers who spend over $1 million a year. Liam's jaw dropped. Alan recognized it too. He grabbed the card off the table, his face twisting. No way you stole this, so you're not just broke, you're a thief too. I'm calling the cops. Looked at him with contempt. Go ahead and check. Alan and Liam exchanged looks. Liam typed my info into the computer. There was millions in points. Alan's face went dark. Every transaction was right there on the screen. Each number like a slap to his smug face. Liam turned pale, legs shaking. Then he switched gears completely, all smiles. Now if you buy this watch, I'll give you our best discount. Plus some limited edition gifts. How's that? Totally different person. I just stared at him, calmly waiting until his smile started to fade. I'll take the watch. Before he could celebrate, I added, but I want the sale credited to Joe Leaf. Liam's head snapped up. Confusion and resentment flashed across his face. Joe was the salesperson I knew best here. He was always friendly, never judged anyone by their clothes. Did every customer the same. As for you, I looked down at Liam, who'd practically crumpled. I'm filing a complaint with your headquarters. His eyes went wide, body trembling. Until you're fired, I said, each word crystal clear. Liam glared at me. You're loaded. Why are you making such a big deal out of this? Can't you just let it go? I almost laughed. So if I were actually poor, that would make it okay for you to treat me like garbage. He couldn't argue with that. He got up, shot me one last dirty look, and went back to the counter. Alan watched the whole thing, his face getting darker by the second. He glared at me. Who knows where your money came from? Probably mooching off some woman too. Right then Jennifer called him back. Alan, I was in a meeting. What's going on? Alan grabbed onto her voice like a lifeline. Jenny, someone's giving me a hard time. They got the watch. I want to come over here. Jennifer paused. Someone else got it. Didn't you buy it? The card wasn't working. I thought the bank was still processing it, so I had to give it up. He sounded so pitiful that Jennifer's tone turned sharp. That's ridiculous. I'll call him right now. Buy him. She meant me. Oh, just come here and buy it for me yourself. Okay, this guy's been messing with me. He whined. Fine. Wait for me. I'll be there soon. As soon as the call ended, Alan's whole demeanor changed. He marched over to me, looking triumphant. He pointed to the watch in my hands. Put it down. My girlfriend's coming to buy it. It's mine. Jennifer was coming. This just got interesting. I wondered how she'd react when she saw me. I smirked at his cocky expression. You said you didn't want it, so I stepped up. Ever heard of first come? First served. I was here first. But something came up. That doesn't mean you can just swoop in. He shot back. Alan turned to Liam. Wrap this up for me. Put on your sales. Liam looked at me, his expression going flat. I'm sorry, Mr. Carson, but Mr. Parr was here first. Feel free to check out our other models. I knew exactly what he was doing. Payback for my complaint threat. I sneered. Fine, let's see if your girlfriend can actually pull this off. Within half an hour, Jennifer showed up. I was sitting behind a divider in the lounge, out of her direct line of sight. The second Alan saw her, he threw himself into her arms. Jenny. Her voice was soft as she stroked his head. Who tried to take your watch? I'll buy it for you. Alan looked at me smugly and pointed. That guy over there. Jennifer followed his finger and froze. The color drained from her face the moment our eyes met. The boutique lobby was climate-controlled to a crisp 68 degrees, but the air around Jennifer turned instantly sub-zero. She didn't just freeze. She seemed to physically cave inward, the expensive, tailored lines of her ivory trench coat losing their crisp structure as her shoulders seized. Her mouth opened, shut, and opened again, her lips working silently like a beached fish while the blood drained completely from her cheeks, leaving her skin the color of wet chalk. Alan, totally blind to the sudden shift in atmospheric pressure, was still grinning that vapid, camera-ready smile. He draped one heavy, gold-ringed arm around her shoulder, pulling her an inch closer to puff out his chest. That's him, babe, Alan sneered, pointing a manicured index finger straight at my chest. Look at this clown. Broke. Nobody brought his grubby kid in here. Tried to snipe the limited edition tourbillon off my wrist, and then had the nerve to give Liam a hard time. Tell him whose money runs this town, Jenny. Buy the watch, and let's get security to throw this bum out onto the curb. Liam puffed up, right alongside him, clasping his hands together in front of his belt buckle like an eager butler. Miss Vale, so wonderful to see you in person. As I was explaining to your boyfriend, we value our genuine high-tier clientele. Above all else, this individual here has been disrupting the peace, threatening complaints, and refusing to acknowledge Mr. Parr's priority status. If you authorize the card swipe on my register, I'll have the packaging sealed and security escort them out immediately. Jennifer didn't move. She didn't speak. She stared at me, then her gaze flickered downward, catching sight of the small hand clutching the hem of my charcoal overcoat. Lila peered out from behind my leg, her big, dark eyes so terrifyingly identical to mine, locked onto Jennifer. Mommy. Lila's voice was small, innocent, and clear as a church bell in the quiet boutique. Why are you hugging that strange man? He called me a bum. The word hit the marble floor like a dropped crystal vase. Liam's obsequious smile twitched, slipping halfway down his face. Excuse me? Alan's arm stiffened on Jennifer's shoulder. He looked down at her, his brow furrowing into an ugly, confused knot. Mommy? What is this brat talking about? Jenny? Who is this guy? Jennifer finally found her voice, but it wasn't the commanding, icy tone she had used on the phone 30 minutes ago. It came out as a strangled, pathetic rasp. Edward. Edward. Alan repeated, looking between us. Wait, you know this loser? I stepped around the velvet partition, keeping Lila safely behind my hip. I took my time adjusting the cuff of my shirt, letting the silence stretch until the tension in the room grew thick enough to choke on. When I stopped 3 feet from them, Jennifer visibly flinched, instinctively taking a half step backward. Alan's arm fell off her shoulder. You look busy, Jennifer, I said quietly, my voice level and conversational. I thought you had back-to-back executive committee meetings until 8 tonight. Is this the urgent portfolio review you told our nanny about? Edward, please, she whispered, her eyes darting around the boutique, terrified of the other wealthy patrons sitting near the private consultation desks. Let's step outside. We can talk about this in the car. Talk about what? Alan barked, his voice rising in irritation. He grabbed Jennifer's wrist, pulling her back. Jenny, what the hell is going on? Is this your ex or something? Why are you acting like you owe this guy an explanation? You run Vale Enterprises. You're the one holding the checkbook. I let out a soft, dry chuckle that cut through Alan's bluster like a razor. Vale Enterprises. I looked Jennifer up and down, watching the sweat begin to bead at her hairline beneath her perfectly styled blonde highlights. Is that what you told him? That you own the company? Shut up, Edward, she hissed, a desperate flash of venom breaking through her. Panic. Don't do this here. Why not here? I asked. I reached into my pocket, pulled out the supplementary titanium black card I had frozen 20 minutes ago, and casually tossed it onto the glass display case between us. The heavy metal made a sharp, clean clink. Alan's eyes darted down to the card. His face twisted. Hey, that's the card Jenny gave me. How the hell do you have that? I don't have your card, Alan, I said smoothly. That is a secondary user card, issued under my primary account. The primary name on the corporate line isn't Vadi. It's Carson. Edward Carson. Alan blinked, his mouth dropping slightly. Carson? As in, Carson Capital. The very same, I replied. The parent fund that owns 70% of the voting shares in Vale Enterprises. The fund that pays Jennifer's executive salary. The fund that covers the lease on the penthouse you two have apparently been sharing, the lease on the Porsche she drove here today, and the credit limit you just try to max out on a $200,000 timepiece. I turned my eyes toward Liam, who was standing behind the counter, looking as if he had just swallowed a handful of glass. His knuckles were bone white against the marble. And you, Liam, I said, my tone dipping into ice. You were quite confident earlier that my family couldn't earn what Mr. Parr spends in 3 lifetimes. Would you like to run that card again? Or perhaps you'd like to check the client database under Edward Carson, ID ending in 001. Liam began to tremble. His knees visibly shook. And Mr. Carson, I had no idea. The system. Mr. Parr has been coming in with Miss Vale for months, and she always paid with my money. I finished for him. And you treated my wife's boy toy like royalty while insulting my daughter. Edward, stop it. Jennifer lunged forward, trying to grab my sleeve, but I took a step back, letting her hand grasp empty air. Tears of humiliation and fury were pooling in her eyes. You're humiliating me. You've been gone for 6 months, dragging Lila around the world, ignoring my calls, leaving me alone. I was in Switzerland getting Lila's pulmonary treatments finished. I cut her off, my voice dropping so low and sharp that she froze in her tracks. And I didn't ignore your calls. I received every single invoice you ran up. I just didn't realize until today that my daughter's healthcare budget was subsidizing a third-rate fitness influencer's jewelry collection. Alan's face flushed and ugly, mottled purple. Who are you calling a third-rate influencer? I have 4 million followers. Jenny loves me. She promised me. Alan, shut your mouth. Jennifer screamed at him, completely losing her composure. The entire boutique went dead silent. 2 security guards near the heavy glass. Front doors shifted uncomfortably, and a tall, dignified man in a charcoal 3-piece suit emerged from the back office, his eyes widening in recognition. As he saw me, Mr. Carson, the man said, quickening his pace. Joe Leaf told me you were in the store. I'm Marcus Wright, the regional director. Is there a problem here? Yes, Mr. Wright, I said, without taking my eyes off Jennifer and Alan. There is. Your associate Liam here has spent the last 45 minutes harassing me and my daughter, attempting to push an unauthorized sale using a frozen supplementary card, and threatening to have me physically removed from the premises. Marcus Wright's face darkened instantly. He shot a look at Liam that made the younger salesman look like he was going to vomit. Is this true, Liam? Marcus demanded. Sir, Mr. Wright, it was a misunderstanding, Mr. Parr said. Clear out your locker, Marcus said flatly. You are terminated immediately for gross customer misconduct. Leave the building before I have security throw you out. Liam stood paralyzed for a second, tears leaking from his eyes, before he ducked his head and scurried toward the employee back door like a beaten dog. Marcus turned back to me, bowing slightly. Mr. Carson, words cannot express our apologies. The turbillion you were inquiring about has already been boxed and credited under your personal account with Joe Leaf. Is entirely complimentary on behalf of our corporate board. I don't need charity, Marcus, I said, pulling out my personal titanium debit card and handing it to him. Charge it in full under Joe's name. He earned the commission. As for these 2, I gestured toward Jennifer and Alan, whose faces were masterpieces of panic and rage. They are trespassing on frozen credit. Escort them out. You can't kick me out, Alan yelled, his chest heaving, veins bulging in his neck. Jenny, do something. Tell this guy off. Call your lawyers. Jennifer looked at Alan with a mixture of pure hatred and disgust. Shut up, Alan. Just shut up and get out of here. No, you get out, Marcus Wright said coldly, stepping between them with 2 towering security guards flanking him. Miss Vale, Mr. Parr, please leave now, or we will have the mall authorities detain you for disorderly conduct. Alan looked at Jennifer, then at me, realizing with terrifying speed that his golden goose had just been plucked clean. He backed away, swearing under his breath before turning on his heel and sprinting out of the boutique to avoid the stares of the gathering crowd. Jennifer remained, her chest heaving, looking at me with wide, pleading eyes. Edward, please. Think of Lila. We need to talk. We're married. You can't just destroy everything we built over a misunderstanding. We didn't build anything, Jennifer, I said calmly, bending down and lifting Lila gently into my arms. Lila nestled her head into my neck, hiding her face from her mother. I built an empire. You just spent the dividends. My attorney will be at your office tomorrow at 8 in the morning. Don't bother going back to the penthouse. The key cards were deactivated 10 minutes ago. I turned my back on her, walking toward the private VIP lounge to finalize the paperwork with Joe, leaving Jennifer Vale standing alone in the center of the marble floor, ruined, exposed, and utterly stripped of the illusion she had spent years constructing. By 9 o'clock that evening, the penthouse on the top floor of the Grandview Tower was quiet. Lila was sound asleep in her bedroom down the hall, clutching the vintage stuffed bear I had brought back for her from Geneva. I had hired 2 private security guards from a reputable firm to stand watch outside the residence doors, strictly instructed to bar Jennifer from entering under any circumstances. I sat in the mahogany-paneled study, a glass of neat bourbon resting untouched on the desk beside a glowing laptop screen. Across from me sat Arthur Vance, my primary corporate counsel for the past 12 years, alongside Thomas Lynn Head, of forensic accounting at Vance & Associates. Arthur was a silver-haired man in his late 50s with eyes like flint and a reputation for dismantling hostile takeovers before breakfast. He laid a thick, manila folder on the desk between us. "It's uglier than we anticipated, Edward," Arthur said, his voice measured and devoid of emotion. "When you handed Jennifer the operational directorship of Vail Logistics 3 years ago, you gave her signatory authority up to $500,000 per quarter without requiring secondary board approval. She exploited every penny of that leeway." Thomas opened his tablet, projecting a detailed ledger onto the flat screen monitor mounted on the study wall. "Over the past 18 months, coinciding exactly with when Alan Parr signed an exclusive promotional contract with Vail Logistics, Jennifer redirected roughly $4.2 million in a Parr Media LLC," Thomas explained, tapping the screen. The invoices were categorized as digital marketing brand, ambassadorship, and lifestyle placement. But when we audited the deliverables, nothing. A few Instagram posts featuring Vail's freight logo in the background, of Parr's gym selfies. "And the personal spending?" I asked, keeping my tone perfectly even. "Worse," Thomas replied. "She was running personal expenses through Shell, companies registered under her maiden name, luxury vehicle leases, chartered flights to Miami and Cabo, private villas, and high-end retail. She believed that because you were out of the country managing Lila's medical treatments and overseeing the European expansion, your automated auditing sweeps wouldn't flag transactions under the quarterly thresholds. Did she touch the core trust?" "She tried," Arthur interjected, leaning forward. 3 weeks ago, she submitted a petition to the family court to be named sole temporary trustee of Lila's Healthcare and Educational Trust Fund, citing your prolonged absence abroad and claiming you were neglecting executive duties. Fortunately, the trust structure we designed 5 years ago requires dual authentication from both you and the independent board of Carson Capital. The court threw the petition out immediately, but it shows her intent, Edward. She wasn't just having an affair. She was positioning herself to liquidate you." A cold, heavy stillness settled in the room. I looked at the documents on the desk. When I married Jennifer 7 years ago, she was an ambitious junior account manager with a sharp mind and a hunger for success. I had loved that drive. I thought we were building a partnership. I backed her ambitions, funded her ventures, gave her a platform to shine, so no one in high society could call her a trophy wife. When Lila was born with a congenital respiratory condition, I stepped back from the day-to-day corporate grind to focus on our daughter's health, leaving Jennifer with immense operational freedom. And in return, she had looked at my absence as an opportunity to carve out my flesh and feed it to a vain, brainless parasite. "What is the status of the prenuptial agreement?" I asked. Arthur smiled, a thin, predatory line. "Ironclad. Clause 14 clearly states that, in the event of documented infidelity, marital asset dissipation, or fraudulent financial diversion, the offending party forfeits all claims to spousal maintenance, equity shares in Carson Capital subsidiaries, and real estate holdings. Furthermore, Clause 19 contains an aggressive indemnification clause. She is personally liable to reimburse Carson Capital for every single dollar misappropriated from Vail Logistics. And custody? Given the evidence we now possess, the boutique incident where she exposed Lila to verbal abuse, her documented neglect, and the fact that she attempted to raid Lila's medical trust, no family judge in this state will grant her anything more than supervised visitation twice a month, Arthur said firmly. "We file the emergency restraining order and the divorce petition at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning." "Good," I said. "What about Alan Parr?" Thomas pulled up another file on the screen. "Parr is an amateur who thought he was playing with house money. He owes over $800,000 in back taxes to the IRS. His influencer agency is drowning in debt, and he has signed multiple personal guarantee notes for luxury car leases and high-end rental properties, assuming Jennifer's cards would cover the monthly nut indefinitely. Now that the primary Carson accounts are frozen, his checks are going to bounce within 48 hours. Let them bounce," I said. "And Arthur?" "Yes, Edward. I don't want a quiet settlement. I gave Jennifer every opportunity to come clean, to handle this like an adult. Instead, she brought that filth into my daughter's face and mocked her. Execute every legal lever we have. Corporate, embezzlement, fraud, breach of fiduciary duty. Strip them down to the bedrock." Arthur nodded, closing his briefcase. Consider it done. The following morning at 7:30, my phone buzzed incessantly on the kitchen island. I was making pancakes for Lila, whose laughter echoed through the sunlit kitchen as she arranged strawberries on her plate. I wiped my hands on a towel and glanced at the caller ID. Jennifer. I declined the call. 2 seconds later, my screen lit up with a text message. Edward, you are ruining my life. Alan is having a panic attack. The press is starting to sniff around, and the building management at the office won't let me up to my floor. Pick up the damn phone right now, or I swear to God I will go to the media and tell them you abandoned your sick daughter to play billionaire in Europe. I didn't reply. I simply forwarded the screenshot to Arthur's legal team for our intimidation and harassment dossier. 10 minutes later, my PR director, Sarah Chun, called my private line. I answered. Edward, Sarah said, her voice tight with professional urgency. You need to look at Alan Parr's social media accounts. He went live 20 minutes ago. What is he doing? Playing the victim, Sarah replied. He spun the entire boutique incident into a viral smear campaign. He's claiming that an entitled, corrupt corporate billionaire used his wealth to humiliate a self-made digital creator, threatened him physically, and had an innocent retail worker fired out of pure spite. He hasn't named you directly yet, but he's dropping enough hints about Vail Enterprises and the Carson monopoly that his followers are already doxing the boutique and tagging our corporate accounts. I walked over to the iPad on the dining table and pulled up the live stream. Recording. There was Alan, sitting in the driver's seat of a rented matte black Mercedes G-Wagon, wearing designer sunglasses pushed up on his forehead, his face painted, with an expression of performative outrage. And honestly, guys, it breaks my heart, Alan was saying to the camera, his voice shaking with feigned emotion. We talk so much about supporting young entrepreneurs and creators, but the moment you step into these elite spaces, these old money gatekeepers try to crush you. This guy literally brought his kid, and as a prop, threw his weight around, had a poor kid named Liam fired on the spot just because Liam treated me with respect. And then he threatened my girlfriend, a powerful female executive who built Vail Logistics from the ground up. We are not going to be silenced by Carson Capital's dirty money. Share this. Stream. Let's show them that the internet has real power. The comments section was scrolling at lightning speed. Cancel Carson Capital. Justice for Liam. Who does this billionaire think he is? Bullying Alan. And an innocent worker. Boycott Vale Logistics. I watched the video to the end, my face completely expressionless. Edward. Sarah's voice came through the phone. Should we issue a formal corporate statement denying the allegations? No, I said calmly. A denial looks defensive. It gives a parasite like Alan the oxygen he craves. Did Marcus Wright send over the boutique's raw security footage from yesterday? Yes. We have high-definition 4K footage with synchronized overhead audio for different angles. It captures everything, from the moment Alan called Lila a bum kid to him bragging about living off his girlfriend's card, right down to Jennifer's arrival and the card rejection. Good, I said. Send the unedited footage directly to our legal team. Have them prepare a digital press package. But don't release it yet. When do you want it dropped? At 10 o'clock, I replied, checking my watch. Vail Logistics is holding an emergency extraordinary board meeting at 10. Jennifer will be there trying to rally the minority shareholders to block my takeover. I want the public to watch Alan Parr's career disintegrate at the exact same moment Jennifer gets stripped of her title. The corporate headquarters of Vail Logistics occupied the top 3 floors of a gleaming glass tower in the financial district. By 9:45, the 14th floor boardroom was packed with grim-faced board members, legal advisors, and majority stakeholders. Jennifer was already seated at the head of the conference table, looking exhausted but determined. She had spent the last 2 hours applying heavy makeup to conceal the dark circles beneath her eyes, wearing a sharp navy power suit designed to project authority. Beside her sat her personal lawyer, a sleazy, high-priced litigator named Gregory Vance, no relation to Arthur, who was furiously shuffling through a stack of counterfilings. We have the votes, Jennifer, Gregory muttered under his breath. If we frame Edward's asset freeze as an illegal interference in operational management, we can secure an emergency injunction from the state business court. As long as the minority board stands with you, he can't remove you as CEO without a 30-day notice period. Jennifer nodded, her jaw clenched tight. He thinks he can treat me like a subordinate. I built the client network for this company. Without me, Vale, logistics is nothing. The heavy double doors of the boardroom swung open. The chatter in the room died instantly. I walked in, flanked by Arthur Vance and 3 senior forensic auditors from Pricewaterhouse. I wasn't wearing an executive suit, just a clean, dark cashmere sweater, charcoal trousers, and a crisp, white-collared shirt. I carried a single, leather binder under my arm. Jennifer's eyes flared with hostility as I took the seat directly opposite her, at the far end of the long table. "Edward," she said, projecting a cold, professional tone for the benefit of the board. "This extraordinary meeting was called to address your unauthorized interference with company operational credit lines and your harassment of our corporate partners. As CEO of Vale Logistics, I demand that you immediately restore the primary accounts and cease this personal vendetta." A few minority board members, men who had benefited from Jennifer's lavish corporate entertainment budgets, nodded in agreement. Mr. Carson, one older director, spoke up, clearing his throat. "While we understand there may be personal difficulties between you and Miss Vale, freezing the company's supplementary executive cards has caused severe reputational damage. Mr. Alan Parr's media agency is already threatening a multi-million-dollar defamation suit against our brand." I didn't answer immediately. I opened my leather binder, pulled out several stacks of bound documents, and slid them down the polished wood table. Arthur and the auditors distributed copies to every single seat. "Before we discuss Mr. Parr's lawsuit," I said quietly, "let us discuss the audit." Jennifer's attorney scoffed, waving a hand dismissively. "This is an obvious delay tactic. My client's operational expenditures have always been fully documented." "Page 4, gentlemen," I interrupted, my voice cutting through Gregory's, posturing like a blade. "Let's look at the documentation." The board members began flipping pages. The rustle of paper was the only sound in the room. "Over the last 18 months," I continued, leaning back in my chair, "Miss Vale has authorized 48 separate disbursements to Parr Media LLC, totaling $4,260,000. When our audit team contacted the third-party vendors listed on those invoices, we discovered that 42 of those vendors do not exist. The corporate registry addresses lead back to a series of virtual mailboxes in Delaware, all linked to an offshore entity owned entirely by Alan Parr." Jennifer's face turned an ashen shade of gray. She gripped the edge of the table so hard her French manicured nails bent against the wood. That's standard digital placement strategy," she stammered, her voice pitching up. "We were expanding into lifestyle logistics. Influencer marketing requires non-traditional agency structures." "Page 12, I said without breaking stride. "Photographs, flight manifests, and hotel folios." While Vale Logistics was reporting a 12% drop in quarterly freight margins due to market headwinds, Miss Vale and Mr. Parr were utilizing company-leased private jets to travel to the French Riviera, Aspen, and Dubai. The invoices were billed to this board as client acquisition summits. A collective murmur of shock and disgust rippled across the boardroom. The older director who had defended Jennifer moments ago pushed his glasses up his nose, looked at the photos of Alan and Jennifer sipping champagne on a yacht in St. Tropez, and immediately closed the folder in revulsion. "This is an outrage," another board member muttered. "This is straight-up embezzlement." "It gets worse." Arthur Vance stepped forward, his resonant voice commanding the entire room. "This morning at 8:15, Carson Capital executed its majority shareholder voting rights under Article 7 of the corporate charter. Miss Vale's executive powers have been formally revoked. Furthermore, Carson Capital has filed a criminal complaint with the State Attorney General's Financial Crimes Division for grand larceny, corporate embezzlement, and falsification of business records." Gregory, Jennifer's lawyer, looked down at the documents, his face pale. He leaned over and whispered urgently into Jennifer's ear, but she shoved him away, standing up so violently that her leather chair screeched against the floor. "You can't do this to me, Edward," she shrieked, all pretense of executive decorum vanishing into pure hysterics. "I am your wife. Everything you have belongs to us. You think you can lock me out of my own company? I will take you to family court. I will take half of Carson Capital. I will take Lila, and you will never see her again." I looked at her, my eyes completely dead. "You won't be taking Lila, Jennifer," I said. "And you won't be taking a single dollar I tapped the screen of my phone. Sarah, I said into the speaker, release the package. At precisely 10:15, while Jennifer was still screaming at her lawyer in the 14th floor boardroom, the internet underwent a seismic shift. Carson Capital's official media portal, alongside the regional corporate directorate of the luxury boutique brand, released the complete, unedited, 4-minute security video to every major news outlet and social media platform. The video was crystal clear. It showed Alan Parr, draped in designer clothes, bought with stolen money, sneering at a 6-year-old girl, calling her a bum kid, and bragging that his girlfriend gives him whatever he wants while demanding the store fire a hard-working clerk. It captured the exact moment his card bounced, his pathetic whining on the phone, and Jennifer's entrance, revealing that the entire lavish lifestyle was funded by the very man Alan had tried to humiliate. Within 12 minutes, the hashtag Alan Parr exposed surged to the #1 trending topic worldwide. The backlash was catastrophic. Alan's 4 million followers didn't just abandon him. They turned on him with feral intensity. The comment sections under his previous videos transformed into a wall of mocking memes, screenshots of his declined card, and fiery condemnations of his behavior toward a young child. He called a 6-year-old sick girl a bum while using her dad's stolen credit card. Lock this man in jail. The absolute second-hand embarrassment of flexing another man's black card. I am dying. Alan Parr is the biggest clown in internet history. Justice for Lila. Cancel this parasite. By 11 o'clock, the corporate fallout hit Alan like a freight train. 1. Brand terminations. 3 major fitness apparel brands, 2 luxury watch companies, and a national supplement chain released identical statements, terminating their sponsorship deals with Alan Parr with immediate effect, citing moral turpitude clauses. 2. Vehicle repossessions. The dealership that had leased Alan his fleet of luxury cars dispatched tow trucks to his rental property after Carson Capital notified them that the payment accounts were disputed for fraud. 3. Landlord eviction. The property management company of his luxury high-rise apartment issued an immediate 3-day notice to quit after his security deposit check bounced. Alan, barricaded inside his apartment while process servers and angry paparazzi gathered outside his lobby, completely lost his mind. In a frantic, hysterical attempt to save his own skin, Alan did what every coward does when cornered. He turned on his partner in crime. At 12:30, Alan uploaded a tearful, unhinged 50-minute video containing hundreds of leaked text messages, voice notes, and private bank transfers from Jennifer. I was manipulated. Alan sobbed into his camera, his face red and snot-stained. Jennifer told me she was divorced. She told me Edward was abusive and that she was the real owner of Carson Capital. She promised me she was going to buy me a house and that we would run the company together. She was the one who told me to use that card. I am a victim of Jennifer Vale's lies. The leaked messages were devastating for Jennifer. In them, she explicitly instructed Alan on how to submit fake invoices, brag about bleeding Edwards accounts dry while he played nursemaid in Switzerland, and openly mocked the board of directors. Jennifer didn't just lose her corporate defense. She had handed the prosecution an open and shut criminal confession on a silver platter. 2 weeks later, the final hearing for the emergency divorce decree and corporate receivership was held in room 402 of the County Superior Courthouse. The courtroom was quiet, save for the steady click of the court reporter's machine. Jennifer sat at the defense table. She was unrecognizable from the polished, arrogant woman who had walked into the boutique 14 days ago. She wore an ill-fitting gray suit from an off-the-rack department store. Her blonde hair was pulled back into a hasty, unwashed ponytail, and her face was hollow, haggard, and stripped of makeup. Her personal lawyer, Gregory, had withdrawn from the case 3 days prior after Jennifer ran out of funds to pay his retainer. She was now represented by a junior public defender who looked completely out of his depth. Arthur Vance stood before the judge, laying out the final settlement agreement. "Your Honor," Arthur stated, his voice ringing with absolute authority. Under the terms of the prenuptial agreement, validated by the incontrovertible evidence of marital fraud, corporate embezzlement, and severe moral misconduct, the defendant, Jennifer Vale, has agreed to the following terms. 1. Complete surrender of all claims to Carson Capital Equity, Vale Logistics, stock, and all associated real estate holdings. 2. Immediate restitution to the Carson Family Trust in the amount of $4.26 million secured against any future personal income or liquidated personal assets. 3. Full and sole physical and legal custody of the minor child, Lila Carson, granted exclusively to the plaintiff, Edward Carson. 4. A permanent restraining order prohibiting the defendant from approaching within 500 yards of Mr. Carson, his daughter, or her educational and medical facilities. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s with zero tolerance for financial predators, peered over her glasses at Jennifer. "Miss Vale," the judge said, her voice heavy with disdain. "Do you understand and accept the terms of this dissolution?" Jennifer stared at the polished mahogany table. A single, heavy tear rolled down her cheek, dripping onto the legal documents in front of her. "I understand," she whispered. "Speak up, Miss Vale," the judge ordered. "Understand, Your Honor," Jennifer sobbed, her voice breaking completely. "I agree." The judge brought the heavy wooden gavel down with a sharp, echoing crack. "Decree is granted. Court is adjourned." Act 7. The dust settles. I walked out of the courthouse through the private underground executive garage, avoiding the swarm of reporters and cameras stationed on the front steps. Arthur walked beside me, lighting a cigar as we reached my black Range Rover. "What's the status on Alan Parr?" I asked, opening the driver's side door. "The IRS issued a formal seizure warrant on his accounts yesterday," Arthur said, exhaling a thin stream of gray smoke. "Between the back taxes, the civil fraud judgments from our corporate suit, and the breach of contract penalties from his former sponsors, he's looking at roughly $6 million in personal liabilities. He filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy this morning, but because our fraud judgment is non-dischargeable, he'll be paying 30% of his wages for the rest of his natural life. Last I heard, he moved back into his mother's basement in Ohio to avoid process servers. And Liam, blacklisted from every luxury retail association in North America," Arthur said, with a faint smirk. Marcus Wright made sure his name was circulated across the entire high-end hospitality and retail network. He's currently working night shifts at an Amazon fulfillment center 2 counties over. I nodded slowly. "Good. Where are you heading now, Edward?" "Home," I said, a genuine smile touching my face for the first time in weeks. "Lila has a ballet recital at 4. I promised her we'd get ice cream after." Epilogue, a clean slate. 6 months later, the coastal breeze swept across the bluff, overlooking the Pacific Ocean, carrying the scent of salt water and blooming jasmine. The sun was dipping below the horizon, painting the sky in deep shades of gold, amber, and violet. I sat on the wide wooden deck of our private estate in Carmel by the Sea, a cup of freshly brewed tea resting on the small table beside my lounge chair. On my wrist, the tourbillon watch from the boutique caught the dying rays of the sun, its intricate mechanical movement ticking with flawless, quiet precision. Down on the manicured lawn, Lila was running barefoot through the grass, chasing our golden retriever puppy, her laughter ringing out across the cliffs, bright, clear, and full of life. Her lungs were completely healed, the doctors in Switzerland had confirmed last week that she would never need medical treatments. Again, my phone buzzed on the table. It was an automated security alert from the estate's front gate camera, 500 yards down the private, winding driveway. I glanced at the screen. It was a rainy evening down in the city, but the camera feed showed a woman standing outside the iron gates, soaked to the bone in a cheap, worn coat. It was Jennifer. She looked broken, emaciated, clutching a sodden cardboard box containing a few old photo albums, her face pressed against the security intercom, begging the automated system for a chance to speak to me, to apologize, to ask for enough money to pay her studio apartment rent. She stood there in the pouring rain, looking at the towering steel gates that separated her from the world she had thrown away for cheap flattery and a hollow, plastic illusion. I didn't pick up the intercom. I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel triumph. I felt nothing at all. I swiped the notification away, locked the screen, and placed the phone face down on the table. "Daddy!" Lila's voice called out from the grass, her small face glowing with pure joy as she scooped up the puppy and ran toward the deck. "Look, Barnaby, learn how to sit." I stood up, walked down the wooden steps, and scooped my daughter up into my arms, holding her close against the cool ocean air. "Good job, sweetheart," I said, kissing her forehead as we turned our backs on the gates and walked into the warm, glowing light of our home.